So here we are, just a little bit over 1 week before the surgery day. We have the surgery set for February 10th. And from that April of 2020 to today, I'm going to kind of go through that in this video. I was initially, when that happened, I was on the ground and in probably the worst pain I've ever had. I knew from my coaching and training days, I knew what had happened. It's like the ACL, I blew my knee out. And I was at that point in time wondering if I'm going to have to crawl from the backyard where I was doing these things, and I misjudged that bottom step of the ladder. If I would have to crawl from there into the house to get help. I had my phone with me, so I figured, well, I wouldn't have to do that. But it eventually got to the point where I could get up and I could walk a little bit. And I finished actually after a few minutes, I finished the task for the day and continued on. Over time, that was bothering me enough where I went in and had it looked at, and they figured it was an ACL issue, and we went through physical therapy. And the idea behind that was I wanted to get ready because I had a major project to do on our house. I was going to be working on the roof of the house, and my knee, I was really concerned if it was going to be able to handle that. I was blessed, I guess, is the way to describe it. As a kid, I didn't think this was a blessing, but I've got very strong legs. I have bigger thighs, muscular thighs, and that's always been something that, as a kid, I would always see these other kids who had these really, kind of a more thin, athletic type looking leg, and I had these big muscular legs, and I thought to myself, that's just, this is pants wouldn't fit. They were always tight in the thighs, that type of thing. And I was very self-conscious about that. Here, getting to be 50 at that time, 51 years old, the stronger legs helped tremendously because that was able to still stabilize that knee. So I wasn't really having a ton of slippage with that knee. I was having a little bit, depending upon what I would be doing. If I were doing something where I'd plant that foot and shift weight, I could get that knee to kind of pivot a little bit. But if I were, doing most daily activities, it really never bothered me. Occasionally, pushing a lawnmower would bother me because when you're pushing, you've got that extra pressure on that knee, and that would bother me. But overall, I was able to function after therapy at a high enough level that we went and repaired a major part of the roof of our house, and I was up on that roof for a few weeks there, and without any problem, and really with minimal knee pain. I did wear a knee brace that had the brackets on the sides to keep things a little more stabilized during that. But overall, I was really excited and happy with that. That got me through 2020. We get into later in the year of 2020, I started to get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm at that age, the 51. I want to try to be healthier, and I want to be able to function, and I could start to see things that were happening with my body that, as an example is balance. My balance wasn't as good as it used to be when you were younger. You just didn't feel very athletic, let's call it, for lack of a better way to describe it. And it's like, this is just not really cool. At times I feel like I'm a teetering, 80-year-old rather than a 51-year-old at that time. So I started to do some walking and things a little bit, and really dedicated myself in January of 2021 to doing 30 minutes of exercise each and every day. That might be going for a walk on a treadmill for a couple of hours, that would be much more than 30 minutes, for a couple of miles. Or I might be doing we've got a Schwinn, one of these Airdyne bikes, something to that effect. But I'm doing something that would be calculated by Mr. Apple Watch here as at least 30 minutes of exercise a day. That was my goal. And there were a few weeks in that first couple of months that I didn't, maybe I got 4 out of 7 days in that week. But as time went on, it became a thing that every day I needed to get at least that 30 minutes. And I was starting to, as we go into 2021, I was starting to, feel better. I was starting to see that, I'm losing a little weight. I started this whole process. I clocked in December of 2020 now. So we've gone through, basically our first year of COVID. And I was coming in around that 252 pound range at that point in time. Started working, doing my things, and as I got into May of last year, I was kind of lost some weight, but I was lifting weights and I was doing the walking. I was feeling better, had more energy, and I was stronger, which was really kind of cool. I had shoulder problems. I'm a side sleeper, and because of doing some weightlifting, my shoulders weren't hurting anymore, and I could actually sleep on my shoulders. And so there was a lot of positives happening with this, and I got to the point where it's like, I wonder if I can start to, maybe jog on this knee a little bit, or on the leg. I really kind of didn't even think about the ACL issue too much. If I could get to the point where I can go jogging, and I can go and have this August date to go and run a 5K with my family. So that kind of put it on the schedule there, and we continued to do that. And then we get into summer, and I started to try to add jogging to my regimen. So now I was probably pushing, my goal was more closer to 45 minutes of exercise a day. So that meant on the treadmill, when I was doing the treadmill days, I was doing close to 3 miles or close to a 5K. But when I would go out, we have 5K routes around our area, and those are kind of what I would be doing every day. Then I added jogging in there a couple of times a week, and it was okay, because I was so out of shape. I was used to walking, and I could walk a 4 mile an hour pace. 4 mile an hour pace is different than a 4 minute mile. I could do a 4 mile an hour pace, or maybe a little strong of that, somewhere in there, but I was doing pretty well. But I really wanted to up that game. In June of 2020, we went to it was June of 2021 that I'm bouncing back and forth. June of 2021, we went to New York, and during that time, I put 100 miles walking in five or 6 days. Things were going really quite well. Then I came back, and it's like, okay, if I can walk that far, it's time to up the jogging game. So then I started to, instead of just jogging maybe like an eighth of a mile, I went and I started, okay, let's go do a half mile. Let's try to do a mile. And the more I jogged, I would jog, and then I'd take a day off and do my walking. As I got more distance on the road, the knee was starting to ache, and it got to the point where it was really, really bothering me. And as I went to the doctor and we started talking and looking and such, it became obvious that if I'm going to be active at that level, we need to do something. Jumping back into 2020, after the incident, they did an MRI, and that's where they were able to go and look and see that there was no ACL connected anymore, and there was meniscus damage. We jump into 2021, and I was having the problems. We had a second MRI, and they were able to obviously confirm that the ACL was gone, but then they were able to see that there was more additional meniscus damage to that knee, which is going to happen because that ACL is there to stabilize that knee, and that meniscus is kind of visualize it as like two C's, and it's got the kind of a thicker on the outside, and that sits in your knee like so. Well, in the back area towards the middle, there's a piece of it that just kind of ripped, and it's no longer attached, and then it ripped a little farther. So this is loose back here on the back side of my knee, and that's the meniscus they're going to need to fix. So they're going to be putting a new ACL in the middle of the knee, and then basically stitching this back onto the bone on February 10th. After seeing that, and really started sitting down and thinking about this, should I continue as I am? And basically, because I can function at a high level. Yeah, I can go jog every once in a while, but I won't be in great condition for jogging, but I could do that every once in a while. And I can walk like there's no tomorrow, and I might have a sore knee here and there, but I'm okay. When I'm doing some things, I can unintentionally damage and tear the meniscus, is what we found out from 2020 to 2021. So that's still a concern because that could continue to tear, but I could function. So it became this really tough thing of should I or shouldn't I when it came to the surgery. It really came down to that meniscus as a big factor, that continuing to tear it is going to cause more damage, and we may get to the point where it's going to have some of it removed, and remove the meniscus, increase the chances of arthritis, increase the eventual knee replacement. That's going to be coming a lot sooner. So that was a big part of it. The second part was, as I've been working on 2021 and being more active and losing weight, going from 252 in December down, I was in the 240s, low 240s in May of last year, and then this fall coming in at around 235 a year later, and now as we're getting ready for the surgery, I'm down to 230. We'll talk about the weight thing in a little bit more, but as I was doing these things, the mental health was so much better, which was a big part of that activity, and why it's become so important, I think, that I can able to continue that, because you get in these upper Midwest and northern climates, and you get these dark winters. The fall can be dreary and such, and it can be really draining, and it can be tough. And there's the depression that sits in. Being more physically active, and over 50, things all added up where this became better than any medication for depression that I could have found. This has been the best winter probably in the last 5 or 6 winters going into it, because of, I think, just being more active and feeling better, and I have lost some weight and being a little stronger. Speaking of the weight, I went from 235 in December, and I've gone down to 230, and I'm going to, for the next few weeks, is really watching what I eat. I mean, really, 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 like, no Doritos is nothing like that. French fries is not going to happen. The idea behind that is I want to be eating really healthy as I go into this surgery, which I've been doing for quite a while now. And then I want to be eating good things, so while I'm kind of sedentary with this knee surgery, that I'm not going to be packing on, I don't want to pack on 10, 20 pounds during this time when I'm down with the knee surgery. I'll be able to do some exercising with the arms, and there's going to be things I'm going to be doing, but it's not like going on an incline walk on the treadmill and burning 400 calories in a session. I'm not going to be able to do that, so we'll be doing other things. Hopefully that part you guys will be able to follow along and see how that goes in that progress of if I'm going to be gaining that 10 pounds while I'm sitting and healing or not. So getting prepared for the 10th. One of the things is I'm a big vitamin taker. I take a vitamin for my eye. If you guys followed me, 2016 I had some problems with eye surgery, so I've been taking some of these oculate type vitamins. You've seen the Bausch & Lomb commercials. That's become part of my regimen, and I think that has been very helpful for my vision. That's a vitamin. I take a multivitamin, and then I take a calcium and vitamin D supplement. So I take 3 vitamins per day. I've got to cut those out here because they don't want me to have any vitamins that last week. So that's stopping. Today was my last day of those. Tomorrow being February 1st. No vitamins. I've been doing leg exercises to strengthen the quads and strengthen the hamstrings, more specifically the leg lifts and such that I'm going to be doing afterwards. I've been starting to work those into my workout regimen now. In one way, probably the biggest way, is just so that I'm used to activating those muscles in that exercise, so that way afterwards when they say the muscles basically become inactive and your brain is not making that connection to activate those muscles, I'm hoping that will help. It may not. I can tell that the muscles, like the quads and such, are showing and they're strengthening more than they did with even some of the workouts I was doing. Back up with that, I haven't been doing squats like I would have done in high school because of the knee issue, but I've been doing some other leg exercises that have strengthened and helped the balance. These exercises I'm doing now that the physical therapist gave me are kind of upping that game just a little bit. So that's been something I've been adding to my little repertoire. The house, is going to be, we're fairly one level with the house. Yes, we do have an upstairs, and that's where the bedroom is, but I can basically stay on one level for the whole day, so I'm good with that. Been practicing with my crutches, so that way I'm ready to go, working on going up the steps now and again, into the restroom, into that back and forth around the living room, just really putting time in with the crutches, so I'm not going to be completely clumsy. I think if I'd have had crutches at some point in time as a younger person, it would have helped. As a 53-year-old, getting crutches for the first time was really weird, and I'll make it, and it will work. Getting them set right for the height right, and to get used to basically supporting your weight on these, and as a straight arm, compared to as kids when we would borrow somebody's crutches and you'd put them under your arms and you were swinging from your armpits, which isn't the right way to use crutches. That's been a big thing to practice and do it properly. So I've been practicing with the crutches. I didn't buy some of there's some little leg raising pads and different things. I didn't do that. We've got some really good recliners that will go and get the leg up above the heart level. So we'll be utilizing that quite a bit. The only thing I really did purchase beyond the crutches was a knee, and a kind of a compression and consistent icing therapy system, which has a cooler, a little pump, and you wrap the little thing around your knee and you connect all the tubes, and then it inflates or puts a little pressure on that to hold things in to keep that to keep the swelling down, and then it circulates cold, really ice cold water through that. That's really was my only purchase, and I think that was about $400 to get all the pieces and such that I did with the one. I don't remember, but I'll put a link in the description below the videos as we go forward of what these different items are, the types of items they are, so you can look them up and see if that's would be advantageous for you. That was the only thing really that the doctor, my surgeon, she recommended. She's like, if you want to invest in something that will help you, this will be it. Many people go and they just do ice, and they do ice packs, and it works okay with that. At times I feel when they're talking about that, it's like, okay, here's the minimum what some people do, and it's here. A lot of people don't even do the minimum. They start here and then they dwindle off, and then they're here, and then they never get back to a level of what they were before. this isn't acceptable for me. This is not what I want to do. I want to basically go and, okay, so this is the minimum. I would rather be aiming to be up in here, and I want to be able to go and, keep that, maintain the swelling, and to keep that swelling down, maintain a low level of swelling so that the muscles won't deactivate, is what they say they were, and I have no idea what that means, but we're going to find out together. I want to be able to keep that swelling down so that that healing process will go as well as possible. That'll help with the pain control, and it'll help the circulation to get that blood to that meniscus, so it will hopefully heal quicker, and in 6 weeks I will be up and able to put some weight on it and actually be able to go and start walking again. That's kind of the goal. I don't want it to be in 6 weeks that I'm like, oh, 2 more weeks because you didn't do your stuff, or you didn't do, or you whatever. I don't want that. I want to be, basically, if they say to do it, we're going to do it, and when you get the pain, okay, then we're going to let off, but to do what they say and do it the way they say, and try to make this as successful as possible. So, bought the consistent icing machine. Didn't do some of the other things because I think with pillows, whatever, we're good. Got the leg brace. That's all fitted and ready to go. It's not as clumsy as I thought it was going to be. It goes on pretty quickly. So that doesn't concern me too terribly much. Probably the biggest thing that's concerning to me is as an older person, i.e. over 50, occasionally you have cramps in your legs at night. I didn't have this as a kid. I have this as an older, an adult here, and that was actually a concern to me. Is that okay? Am I going to have get a Charlie horse in my leg at night while I'm in this brace that I can't bend my knee? And how am I going to deal with that besides, crying, and I can't even roll into a fetal position with that. So we'll be dealing with that also. So the things are purchased. Next week I've got to go I've done my pre-op, and the doctor, everything looked great with that. And he had shared that he's seen people in their 50s and 60s who have popped ACLs, and most of the time they're pre-diabetic, diabetic, a little overweight, whatever it is, and he would probably have recommended them not to, especially with the high level of ability that I have. Recommend not having that ACL fixed. He looked at my situation, where I'm at, and where I want to get to. He thinks that this was the best choice because it should come through well, and then I will be able to come out on the other side and be back into jogging and hopefully being able to play basketball with my kids without having to worry about a knee leaving me on the ground somewhere. So pre-op stuff was all done, looked good with that, and now one more test next week before we have a little COVID test we have to do 48 hours before the surgery, and then we head in for the surgery. Little apprehensive about it, but I think I'm more apprehensive about when, not so much Thursday during the surgery, but probably Friday or Saturday when the painkillers start to kick, they start to go away. I'm really good at taking ibuprofen. Ibuprofen's never been a problem for me, and thankfully I'll be able to utilize that. And that controls pain much better for me than Tylenol. I've taken some opioids, whatever they recommend or they've had when I've had other surgeries, and I just feel nauseous from those. So I'm not excited about the idea of having to take something like that to control pain. If I have to, obviously I will, but I'm hoping that between the icing and things, I can go and just be utilizing kind of a Tylenol ibuprofen mix on Friday and Saturday, and for the first few days as things start to settle down. We'll see how that goes. And again, I'll be doing videos, and I'm going to look like crap in some of those videos. I'm sure of it. I'm going to look haggard. I'm going to be in pain. But I want to give any of you over 50 who are looking at having an ACL fixed an idea of what it's like to be doing this. I'm hoping, again, in 6 weeks I'll be off the crutches, and then in about 8 weeks or so after that, I'll be walking and being able to stand enough to get back to doing videos. Whether that's a going out and doing doing a video with a lawnmower, or a tool in the backyard, whatever it is, or going and doing it from an event. I'm hoping that I'll be at least that vertical in 8 weeks to get back to that spot. So this is kind of video 1. I'll be going. I'm going to be doing one more video, I think, before the 10th. But I'll be doing. This is going to be probably the longest one. After this, it'll be little updates in this series, and you can watch those. Links will be for the playlist will be in the description of this video. And I'm hoping that this whole process will help someone out there to be able to make the right decision when it comes to getting an ACL and meniscus fixed in your knee. This is John Young. Thanks for watching.